What's up, everybody? Welcome to Next Token. We've got a big show today. Really excited about it. We're also live on the internet, believe it or not. Let's get started. I'm Ryan Carson, your host, along with my amazing co-host Torsten, who's one of the co-creators of AMP. Torsten, where are you calling in today from with your orb light?
Orb light right behind me, near Frankfurt in Germany. So it's 5 p.m. in December. It's dark outside, and I have to close the blinds because I turned on all of these lights to record this, and I think my neighbors will think the house is exploding or something because it's so bright.
I love it. It's always bright where you are. Our amazing guest is Mckay Wrigley. So I've been following Mckay forever on X particularly, but on the internet. And he's a builder and a teacher for everything AI coding. He's also the founder of Takeoff AI, where he is building an amazing AI coding tutor. Mckay, welcome to the show.
Great to be here, guys.
It's good to have you. It's strange because I've heard your voice so many times on your little videos of usually your phone.
I know nobody knows what I look like without the ski goggles. It's like,
yeah. Is this the big reveal then? Is this the first time?
I think I've done a couple live streams, but this is probably for a lot of people the first time.
It's pretty exciting. All right,
I do have a face.
You
do
do
exist.
Your face is nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Good background too.
It's all perfect. So we've got a bunch of segments to the show I'm excited to get through. We're going to do some tech buzz news where we cover some interesting things that are going on in the whole world of AI and coding. We're also going to do a nerd alert where we teach everybody listening a quick term that you might want to know. And then we're going to head on to our deep dive, which is our longer form conversation about what's going on in the industry. And then we're going to do game time. So make sure to stick around that where you try to get your true false questions correct. We'll see if everybody is paying attention. Also, if you're listening to the show live, please pop in the comments. Tell us where you're calling in from. Tell us maybe a project that you're working on. Maybe tell us what your favorite model is right now. We'll call out some of you on the show live. So let's get to it and let's cover some news in the tech buzz. Let's do it. All right. So Google DeepMind published the new Titans architecture with neural memory. So I saw Jeff Dean talking about this on X, and you never know if these things are real or interesting or if they're just a paper, but I read into it and was pretty intrigued. So I'll give you a quick summary, then I'd like to chat to you guys about it. So at NeurIPS 2025, which is a really fun, interesting conference if you all have ever been able to go, it's on the nerdier side, which is great. Jeff Dean highlighted the new Titans architecture, which addresses the limitation of finite context windows in transformers, specifically by introducing a persistent neural memory module. Unlike standard models that must reprocess the entire history every token, Titan learns to compress historical data into a long-term memory storage during inference, effectively allowing it to memorize information indefinitely with linear scaling. This architectural shift moves beyond simply making context windows larger. We're starting to see 1 million, 2 million context windows, and instead focuses on making models that can learn and retain state over time, similar to how recurrent networks or RNNs operate, but with the parallelization benefits of transformers. There's an interesting paper on this. Would encourage everybody to read it. But I have a question for my guests, which is, so if this thing works, which would be amazing, how do we think this is going to affect coding agents? How's it going to affect your work day to day?
Well, it's going to save me a whole lot of time on hacky memory techniques. That's for sure. I think we're all kind of in this place right now where we're trying to figure out what's the best thing that we can do in the intermediate kind of time frame here before the researchers crack this problem. And I think everybody has a different approach. Everybody's experienced kind of the drop off you get on that first compact, when you exceed your token context window. And it's always like this huge pain of trying to have this moment of, okay, well, what do I do to preserve as much of this as I can? And, I think everybody expects or hopes for, continual learning and memory and these things to work. And would certainly, I think it would, I mean, we could talk about how much that unlocks, but that's obviously kind of the next big moment I think we're all waiting for.
So everything that unlocks.
I mean,
Well, I mean, like you say, everything it unlocks, but I mean, it really does kind of unlock everything, which is, I think, why it's being treated as such a big deal.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about all of the existing memory solutions in quotes, it's just, a hack basically. Like, instead of saying, here's a file with all of the stuff that I talked to you about yesterday and pasting it in, you give it a tool so it can read this file. And that's basically how, if you use ChatGPT or something, it's kind of how it works at the basic level. It's all how it works. There's some compression and there's embeddings and there's searching and there's lookup. But basically it means you have the model and then somewhere else you have memory, and then it can retrieve them and put them into context window. But this, I haven't looked at the paper, but this sounds like it could be at a deeper level at the model layer where it is always mixed in when it runs inference. I don't know if that's how it works. So that means it wouldn't have to connect via tools. It seems like a better, deeper integration. And I think, to Mckay's point, like, if you've listened to any of the Dwarkish episodes in the last few months, like the big thing that he's disappointed with, maybe too strong a word, with AI is there's no continuous learning. Like if you take a 10-year-old kid and say, I don't know, do this, they will remember how to do it the next time and they get better at it. And you don't have this with agents. There's no continuous improvement. So that's the big thing.
It'll be a huge unlock. I'm sure this happens to you guys all the time, but I'll be coding something, working on a feature. It's obviously fresh in my mind. I'll restart a thread the next day, thinking about it, knowing there's some edge case, and obviously the agent doesn't think about it, right? And then you're like, oh man, like how did that feeling of like, how did you not know? Like, but so we're so used to working with humans who just do this magically.
There are almost these interesting ways too, or things that could unlock, which you could almost imagine just dumping your entire GitHub history into that, and then it emulates you. But you could also almost imagine doing that for specific people,
right?
And you could almost have like, how would X person solve this problem, and get kind of compared. So there's like all these interesting things it could lead to that are like, I think everyone's like super long context, which is kind of a lot of the mental model for memory. But I also feel like there's all these cool like personality emulations you could do and things like that. How would Tom Neumann solve this? And maybe you put everything he's ever said and throw that at your pro, right? There's cool things that could come out of that I think are not obvious.
But question for both of you on the topic of memory. We've had memory in different versions in the last year or something, right? ChatGPT has it. And I'm torn on it. Like sometimes it's a pain in the ass if I have to tell ChatGPT something again. And then other times, because it's so primitive, I think it just feels bad. Like, don't just because I once told you, that I like this, you don't have to bring it up in every conversation. It feels very strange. And then I do like the aspect of, being able to go to a new conversation and blank slate. Like, I think that's a good thing, basically, if you tell your coworker, forget everything I said, imagine you've never met me. Now let's restart this. I think that's a feature in itself, but I don't know. What do you guys think about this?
What's funny is that's actually how I use the different chat apps. Is I have the memory feature turned off because I actually don't really like it. It's very rare that I actually want to bring it over.
Yeah.
So it's like memory does feel like something where you do want to switch on and off. I think in coding, more often than not, I do want it on. But when I'm throwing it like a random question, like, hey, my sink, like I need plumbing help. Like I don't really want it to be like, oh, I know you're like a software guy. Like, I'm gonna make a weird analogy. It's like, no, like just something that, it's like stuff like that.
But what's weird is that's a uniquely human trait. So when you talk to your plumber, they know not to like make comments about the color of your house. Like
exactly.
We have this like really finely tuned, evolved ability to pull on the right context at the right moment. And you all know this because you're building these memory systems, and I'm building a memory system for my agent as well. Or at least I was, but it just doesn't work. You're like, all right, call a tool after, every so often to try to look at the context and decide what's important, and then,
Yeah.
store a memory somewhere and then pull it. And it just never
Yeah, I
works.
think in a human conversation, there's so much signal about what's relevant to the conversation. The setting, your
Right.
body language, your facial expressions and whatnot. It's this, if a colleague comes up to you and says like, "Hey, can I get some, feedback on like this RFC idea I have or something to build?" They know, are you like in a good mood and happy and you want to get a little praise, or are you like not sure and you need somebody to push back? But with ChatGPT, it's like, you're a software engineer and I'm your mentor, blah blah, whatever you put in the system prompt, and then whatever it remembers, and it misses the mark a lot of times because
Totally.
it's missing a lot of signals.
Yeah.
It's hard.
So it'll
I
be
do feel like we're gonna get memory, and people are gonna move the goalposts on it like they do for everything, and it's
Yeah.
like, well, this isn't like good enough, or like, so it'll be funny to see
Yeah,
how that
true.
plays
It's
out.
never good enough. But obviously Jeff Dean, the folks at DeepMind, they know what they're doing, right?
They're smart.
I actually just watched the Thinking Game, the YouTube documentary, the new one on
Yes.
Google DeepMind, and I actually got emotional. It was kind of weird. I was like,
Yeah.
wow, I feel so fortunate to be working in this industry, like on this problem at this time. It's pretty special. So
Yeah.
DeepMind. All right, so let's keep moving. We got another news story. Before we do, calling on a couple friends in the audience. 33 is calling in from Atlanta. And then we've got some other guests as well, DD. So I appreciate you all checking in. We've got a question as well from a friend called Treeful XYZ. That's wondering about Go, which is kind of interesting. Is Go the best language for AI? Let's I think Thorsten should answer this. What do you think?
There's multiple things. I don't know, like dimensions on which to judge what's the best language for a model. I would say amount of training data. That's a big dimension, and there is a lot of Go out there, but there's not as much Go out there as there is JavaScript or TypeScript, I would say. Then the other thing, though, the other dimension is ease of build tools. Like how easy is it to run a project? Like how easy is it to say this Go project, I know how to run it, versus running into problems? And there's like one anecdote or rumor, I guess it's not a rumor, but basically what a lot of people have been saying about these model companies in the last few years is when they do reinforcement learning for agents or for coding, they often did use Go because it turns out with Go, you can get a lot of code from the internet that's easy to run and to test without having like elaborate setups. That means in an RL setup, you want to say, fix this bug or fix this test and make it pass. And then you need to run the tests to give signal, to the model. And
that's right.
if you have a super elaborate build setup that you cannot get to run easily by cloning the Git repo, that makes it harder to be adopted, right? So this is another point for Go. And then the other thing I would say is, other dimension is how complex is the language? Meaning not because it might be hard for the model to write the language, but if the language is complex and gives you a ton of options of how to write code, that means your way of writing code might be not what the model thinks the code should look like. And with Go, there's often, same with Python, there's often like one way to do a thing, and the model can get it right.
You can verify it. Mckay, what about you? First question is, what do you write most of your code in? Number two, do you think that, let's just say Opus or Sonnet, what's its favorite language?
I think Thorsten brings up the really good point of just the amount of training data matters quite a bit. I think that's why you see TypeScript and Python being such pretty obvious winners with the AI tools all being really, really exceptional at. So I personally pretty much just exclusively a TypeScript guy. I think it tends to work quite well. Everything's typed.
Yeah.
So much training data, right? Like with on the training data point, like you see this with, like, take a Shad CN, for example. Like it's just kind of like the default component library that the AI is just gonna, like, it's just like manifested itself like into the light cone that it's like, this is the component library, this is what you're gonna use. And it just knows all of that stuff so well that it just makes for a really smooth experience. And as someone who like teaches a lot of beginners, especially, it's something you feel good about recommending
Yes.
people because you know the
Yeah.
strength is there.
Yeah, the models are so good at Next.js, TypeScript, React,
Tailwind.
Tailwinds.
It just knows.
There's almost like
Tailwind.
a default tech stack where it's like the more you go away from that, the more you're going to be fighting the model in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So you might as well just kind of
just go with the flow.
yeah, the best time to invent a framework was like a few years before those runs happened.
Not
Sure.
now.
And I mean, I said this, like, I think one of the first live things we recorded, Ryan, together, I said, well, it'll be, interesting to see in the future whether the code base will adapt to the model, or whether the model, whether the tooling will adapt to the code base. And I think by now, I've said it before, but by now I'm pretty sure that the pull is so strong that you will adapt to these models.
100%.
You will not keep your build tooling if the model does not know.
Well, and the other question
agree.
too on the tooling side of things is like what the labs adopt, right? With like Anthropic acquiring Bun, it's like suddenly, that's a big,
a big
you're
deal.
going to bring a lot of people over there.
I literally am thinking about using Bun because I currently use NPM, and I'm like, Node. I'm like, oh man, I should probably try it. So anyway, all right. So there's so much.
There's a nuance. Sorry, just to throw this in, I think there's a nuance point here too, which is that Bun is really good at running like single file projects, or it doesn't, there's not you download Bun and you can run anything without having to install it. Does it all for you. Like, it's pretty good out of the box. And when you think about it, coming back to memory and whatnot, a lot of programming where it's, you start something and it runs in the background and then it leaves some state over here and actually it's invisible and it's in the database. A lot of that stuff is not good for models. Like, for models, it's good if they can run a command and see the world by running this command. And I would say that a lot of tooling that does it like this will be favored because it's so easy to work with the models.
Yeah, I agree. It's like a rushing river. Like, you're just going to get it and go with what the model wants to do. There's some good comments actually come from the crowd again. 33 is asking about linters. Let's go off track for a second here.
Yeah.
What does everybody use for their linters? Have you switched to Biome? Mckay, why don't you go first? And then
I'm just ESLint right now.
ESLint, good old fashioned. Same. I would like to switch to Biome, but
same. I hear so many good things. It's just sometimes you have your setup and it's like,
not going to change.
Are you going to go through the switching costs of like trying to figure out? There's so many things to do, and you just got to pick a certain point.
And a linter's not a top of your list. What about you, Torsten?
We use ESLint. I think there was some technical reason why we can't switch to Biome. It doesn't play nice with Vite. I don't know. It's a script I run. The output goes to the model.
That's how I feel, Torsten.
About a thing.
Who cares?
It is what it is. I want to say hi to Tim Culverhouse out there. Good to see you.
Nice,
Tim. By, and Sharia as well for stopping here. So, all right, let's get into our next quick news story, and then we'll keep blazing after that. So, AWS launched Frontier Agents, and this is kind of interesting because a lot of people use AWS. So, I think we should talk a little bit about it. They released a new class of autonomous AI workers designed to execute long-running asynchronous tasks rather than just responding to chat prompts. The launch includes Kiro, which is their autonomous developer. You could think of it as a little bit like a Devin. They launched a security agent, a DevOps agent, and unlike copilots that require human hand-holding, these agents just run off and do their thing. You give them access to the shell and permissions, and then they just crank. So my question for you two is, as we see more and more of these truly autonomous, simple agents, you could think of as code review bots or, DevOps bots or whatever, what's going to happen to junior engineers? Like, how do you get in if all of the rote kind of basic stuff is being done by agents now? Torsten, why don't you give me your thoughts first? No
tough
pressure.
Question, dude. Like, that's a tough. I've been thinking. So, okay, I'll share a little anecdote. So, I wrote 2 books about how to write a programming language. Right. I am into teaching programming. I've enjoyed learning about programming. And I have an ex-colleague who also wrote a book about how to learn to program. And he sent me an email a couple weeks back, like 2-3 weeks back. And he really started to try out agents like only 4, 5, 6 weeks back. And his email was basically, dude, you were right. Like everything is changing, blah, blah, blah. But then he's like, how do you think about teaching programming? Like, I wouldn't even know where to start nowadays. It's, do you tell them go through structured interpretation of computer programs and say, do it by hand? Or like, how do you how do you even teach programming? And I don't know. And I would argue that I think, the stuff, what you're saying, Ryan, like, oh, the machine can do it. What do the juniors do? I think that kind of is a thing in a lot of other industries as well. If you're, say, a fashion designer or something, you also do you learn the trade, you learn the craft, right? But that doesn't mean that you then do it all the time or that machines don't do it. But I think we might need to switch to something where you give juniors a task purely for them to learn how to do it, but not to ship it, maybe to ship it to production or something. But it's quite hard to, like the industry has, like this industry has always been special with like 16-year-olds around the world being able to go work for a company because they've been programming since they were 10 years old, like it's different from a lot of other industries. But I think
Totally.
there's a big change coming.
Yeah, it's wild. Mckay, I know you think literally about this all the time.
Yeah.
So
I'm interested.
what do you think about this?
Well, I mean, there are a lot of different angles you could kind of analyze this from, right? There's kind of the jobs angle of like, how do you get a job as a junior if you have something like 4.5 Opus, that some senior can have 5 of these running at once that theoretically are probably already better than someone who's like fresh out of school or something. So there's that question. There's the question of what enables a lot of people, right? So like you brought up this AWS one, and one of the things they've listed is a DevOps agent. So DevOps is like notoriously a very hard thing to teach newcomers. Like if you're trying to have one of these juniors trying to wrangle the cloud, which is probably, to be fair, like not something you're probably going to assign them to do anyways.
Keep everything
if
up.
they're trying to like build their own thing, like something like that can be really helpful because like the great thing about, if somebody's like toying around with a front end, it's like it's the visual feedback's there. They can kind of click around. It's pretty straightforward. When you get into the DevOps side of things, suddenly it goes like totally off the rails, and you have to do a lot more wrangling. But I don't know, man. Like Opus 4.5 for me in particular, just is the last 2 weeks has just been kind of weird. I've just gone. I have all these instances running. I have like a 49-inch widescreen monitor just so I can have like a ton of things
Jealous.
all going at once. It's like I'm kind of weird with my workflow like that. And you start to just like evaluate these things as they're running. And it's like, well, how many of these do I like actually need a human for? And how that translates to like the job market for juniors is just like,
yeah,
I don't know. It feels.
But if somebody is say an 18-year-old is asking you, how do I get into, like, how I want to be a programmer? Let's say that wouldn't be a question. They still want to be a programmer, even though this is a lot of stuff is changing. What do you tell them?
I think so, because I worked in this for 10 years, right? Like we taught 1 million people how to code a treehouse. It's like all I thought about. And I think what's happening now is you sort of have to be an entrepreneur now.
Yes.
Like, you basically, you can't just build anymore. You have to build something because it's sort of like if everybody had, automatic, carpenters, you couldn't just say, I just want to, I just want to carve a beautiful piece of wood into this. You could do it as a hobby, but it's like as a job, the carpenter robots are just going to do it. So it's like, okay, now what are you going to do with the carpenter robot? Okay, I'm going to build a ship. And with, so I think we're kind of in that phase where, but it's easy for me to say that because I am an entrepreneur. Like there's a lot of people that just don't want to do that.
But that's already the case for carpenters, right? Like if you in Germany train to be a carpenter, I think it's going to take you 3 years or something. You go from apprentice to then eventually the master certificate. And when you become a master, you have to build your masterpiece, meaning a nice wooden table or like a big, something that you then show off. And actually they get shown here in local newspapers. So if people graduate. But then I 2 friends of mine trained to be carpenters, and they both now, well, one switched careers, but the other one works in a factory. It's not called a factory, but they do like wooden furniture, but it's mass produced. Like he manages the saws, and like how the designs and helps others, and like there's some stuff that is still cheaper for humans to do than for the machine to do, because the machine would be too expensive. So I don't know, maybe something like this is gonna happen.
I do think the advice to like 18-year-olds, like people coming out of high school or in college or something, is like learn how to build, which in a way, like with the people we interact with, that's kind of always been the advice in a way. But I do think you get more away from kind of like leak code grinding style of stuff to the people that you're going to want to bring on are going to be people who have good product. Like one of the things that becomes very obvious with the agents as they get better is it's like if you had 1,000 of these things, you're not just going to become a billionaire overnight. Like there's so much more goes into building great software than just hammering out the code, and this becomes very obvious like when you're trying to build something that people actually use. And so all of those skills I think get amplified. But you obviously do still need the core, because especially when you're orchestrating them at a high level, like you still need to have an understanding of what's going on. So when it's like all those technical skills are still relevant.
Totally.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing, right? Like I said this before, like every time I use an agent and then review its work, or when I write a prompt, everything that I know about software engineering comes into it. What doesn't come into it is typing the lines or knowing the syntax, but the trade-offs, how to do migration, what to deploy first, how to do this, blah, blah, blah. Could this blow up? Could it not blow up? Yes. And the question I don't have an answer to yet is, how do people learn this stuff now? When it's automated way. And the other thing that I keep thinking about is what made me then switch careers to be a software engineer was that I noticed, figuring stuff out and getting the computer to do something was the best feedback loop for me, compared to playing music, where it's like you practice, but then you don't get a binary, yes, you're good, or yes, you're bad. But with the computer, you have it works or it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And now with computers, you always had like these tiny, tiny puzzles, and everything you did, every line could be a puzzle. Like, is this line correct? But that's gone now. And I wonder if the incentives now pull other people in, or if they, like if that stuff gets mixed up.
I think, but the joy that we all felt when we first started programming, I think actually it's more joyful and more fun to program than ever now. And I think what's going to happen is more people are just going to start programming because it's actually fun and they can build fun things. And then they'll end up turning into software engineers, just because, I mean, look at Tim, like, who's listening in. I remember him saying, this is my first software engineering job. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, you hand wrote our TUI framework. And he's like, yeah, but I did it in my free time. And my real job is this other thing. Like, what? And he's so good. So go ahead.
No, just one last. I can imagine that if you're a carpenter and you love working with the tools and you love working with wood and you love this is an actual thing, like to be in love with the physicality or with the act of doing something. And if then somebody comes along and says like, look, I got a 3D printer, dude, you just press this button and the thing comes out. I can see that you're like, I don't want to do this. You know, it's like, some people are salespeople because they love talking to people. They love talking to other people and having conversations, and they love that this is their job. And if you didn't tell them, you're now going to talk to machines, do the same job, but you're going to, like, it's not humans anymore. They're like, yeah, man, I don't enjoy this. So I can see a lot of stuff shifting.
Yeah, it's going to be so interesting. And we're going to talk about Opus 4.5 in a minute, which I can't wait. So Mckay, a bunch of people are asking what your X profile is. So we're going to throw it up on the screen really quick. So that people can see your ski goggles.
I'm the blue picture with the ski goggles. That is me.
And Mckay always does these. It's funny because they always look underproduced, but in a super authentic way. You're like filming your screen.
I'm just a screen share, one take, boom, post. Let's do this. Like, I'm very, very minimalist. Hopefully in a little bit we get agents that can like help me get my videos edited.
I think it's good. I mean, some of those things, like, it's actually more fun to watch than some perfect,
I mean, we've all had the experience of like going on YouTube and searching for your problem. Maybe not as much now with the coding agents, but you'd find that like one video and it was just some random dude with 50 views who like had his screen share and it was like terrible audio, but it solved your problem. And that's like mine's like maybe a step above that.
That's the vibe.
It works.
I love it. So everybody make sure to follow Mckay. He has tons of useful, like, hey, this thing came out, here's how it works. This is what I did with it. You actually did an Opus 4.5 thread, which we're going to talk about. So make sure to give him a follow. All right. So we're going to keep cranking. We've already covered Tech Buzz, and we're going to go do a quick nerd alert. So let's get nerdy. Let's hit it. All right. That's nerd alert. Hope you like that little song. So we're going to talk about KV cache really quickly, or key value cache. Like, what is this? Why does it matter? So the definition is the KV cache is a short-term working memory of a transformer model during generation. So this kind of actually leads back to the story about Titan and the fact that maybe we won't need to do this as much. So when an LLM generates a response, it shouldn't have to recalculate the math for every previous word or token it just said. So instead, it saves the key and the value matrices of past tokens in memory or VRAM. So it speeds up inference because it doesn't have to redo the matrix multiplication. And if everybody's watching and doesn't know how to do matrix multiplication, you should learn it because it's really fun to see how these models actually do it. So the reason why I want to talk about this is because the primary bottleneck for running long context models is KV cache. So as your context window grows, let's think about more than 100,000 tokens, the KV cache gets massive. So it eats up all your GPU memory. So that's why everyone struggles to have huge context windows. That's why there is some magic that TPUs, do, and what Google understands with large context, but we still hit the wall on KV cache, and hopefully Titan will solve it. So that's your nerd alert for today. Hope you enjoyed it. We're going to keep cranking to the deep dive section and really get into it about Opus 4.5. So let's go to deep dive. All right. So as I alluded to, Mckay did an interesting post about Opus 4.5. And we're going to talk a lot about Opus 4.5. And Torsten and I and everybody in AMP has been talking about Opus 4.5. Everybody in the industry has as well. It really feels like a big deal. So Mckay, you described it as the big unlock specifically for agents. And you said it's sort of like Waymo, where you just say, I just want to go from A to B. You don't micromanage it. You don't drive it. So tell us a little bit more about your thought process when you wrote that, and tell us like how you're starting to shift your daily workflow now with Opus 4.5.
Yeah. So before Opus 4.5, I was just using Sonnet 4.5. And in the 2 weeks since Opus has been out, you just kind of think like qualitatively, how does my life feel different now? And it just feels like the experience of my own personal workflow is just a lot more set and forget. And that kind of manifests itself in a lot of ways. There's just the fact that Opus is very good at finding what you need from your code base. I think a lot of those tool calls you would find in the past other models be somewhat inefficient. Maybe they'd pull in the right things. And Opus just has this weird way of just seemingly like always pulling in the right things right when you need it. And that's kind of why I made the Waymo analogy, because you hop in the car, you're not worried about running into things. It's just like, you're just going to like coast nice and safely to your destination. And when you experience that over and over, your trust in the model to get things done just goes up. And so a side effect of that is you start giving it more complex tasks. You find it handles those fairly well. And suddenly, like, I think we've also all experienced kind of the bottleneck in many ways being the review part. People, say this quite a bit. And the review now, it almost feels like I'm reviewing like a senior engineer's work instead of a junior's. So it's like things are just a little bit more snappy. So the whole thing just kind of has this like autonomous feel to it, which that for me, that was the big qualitative difference, which is kind of why I made that Waymo analogy, because that's kind of how it very much feels like that for coding.
Yes.
Yeah.
Torsten.
What about Gemini 3? No. I think I agree. I think, well, actually, I want to mention Gemini 3. I think I've had
Great
like
model. Great model.
yeah, it's great. I had a lot of this. Oh shit, a lot of stuff is changing again with Gemini 3, and I think the highs that both models have are equal. Like if Gemini 3 is, if it nails it, it nails it. And I think Opus 4.5 just does it more consistently and more evenly and more reliably. But yeah, I agree. I think it's I posted this in our Slack, I think last week, right, Ryan? That like I've been using the Opus 4.5 every day for the last couple, what was it, 2 weeks now? I don't know. Time is whatever, but it just feels like something again is changing. Like exactly what Mckay is saying. You start out and you give it the same tasks, and you're like, oh, and then you start giving it bigger tasks. And it's not something that you consciously do, but I think it's more you subconsciously take a step back and you get less surprised when it does it. And it's strange. And it's, talking about reviews, like, I mean, I don't want to say I blindly merge everything, but it's gotten to the point where it is like reviewing a senior engineer's code. You're like, yeah, I get like the syntax, like all of that stuff is fine. It doesn't pass the wrong parameters in. It doesn't leave unused stuff. It's just purely about like, is it doing the right thing? Is it architecturally sane? It's just like a code review. And, then you're like, yeah, I'm not going to give it nitpicks, whatever. Like if it wants to name the class like this, whatever. I don't, it has to modify it. Like this is your code now. And a lot of stuff is changing. A lot of like, I truly think that in the last 2-3 weeks, I truly started to think or believe in this idea that software engineering, the job will evolve into a manager of somebody who delegates work. And that always seemed batshit crazy to me. But now that's what I do all day long. Like I'm like, okay, what do we want to do next? What's the context? This bug report, I know it's roughly in these 2-3 files. Here's the old AMP thread where we did it. Read up on this, get this context in, fix this. Let's switch over to this one. What's the next thing? And it's if you think back, like the stuff we had to do even last year or even half a year ago with like fixing syntax errors or you work against the idiosyncrasies of the model, like, oh, sometimes it leaves comments when it deletes code, and then you have to root them. It's
all gone away. I mean, and so for me, it is wild because I'll be thinking of kind of a small to medium sized feature, type it in the prompts, tell AMP to go. I'll go grab a coffee, and then I'll get distracted by my kids or something, and I come back and it's done, and I'm like, what? Like, and it did it in the context window of one thread. Like that's even more mind-blowing, right? No one's talking about the fact that Opus has, a quarter of the context that, Gemini 3 has.
Right.
And even then, so maybe you have to hand it off a couple times, but it's shocking what it can get done. And I feel like I'm now orchestrating, features instead of
the number of times that I jump in now it's noticeably lower. Like I can very viscerally feel the difference. And a side effect of that is that I can run more of these at the same time. Like you can parallelize more when you don't have to be paying attention to its tool calls a little bit to make sure it's kind of going the right direction. And you don't have to be like, actually, hey, go look in this area of the code base.
It finds it. And I think, Torsten, you just shipped this today, but we have a new feature where you can say, hey, find the thread where, you were working on this thing. And I'm excited to use that because that'll even make it easier where I'm like, I don't even have to exactly remember where this happened or what you did last. You just go find it and then read that thread in and then just get to work. So
I feel, look, like, I think I have enough street cred to say this without people thinking that I'm an idiot, but I think there's a surprising amount of code that I ship to production that works really well, where I've reviewed the code by testing it, by looking at, like, doing spot checks, but not on a line-by-line basis. It's the same as with a colleague. It's, oh, yeah, I trust you, like, and you merge this. Let me make sure this kind of does what you said it does, and if that looks good, then it looks good. And the whole idea of, when I talk to other people, they're like, oh, you don't want to let the agents modify files on disk, and it needs a sandbox, and you need this. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, it's been able to do anything at once on my machine for 6 months, and nothing bad has happened, which is obviously the famous last words of everybody who ever got hacked. But still, like, I think basically the models are really, really good, and the problem is most people haven't caught up yet.
I know.
I think that's the thing we're gonna see.
I agree. So that's going to lead to the next question. But first, I want to ask the audience, what models are you using, the audience? So are you using, Grok 4.1? Are you using Sonnet 4.5? Are you using Opus 4.5? Like, where's everybody at? So throw it in the comments. We'll read out some of that. But that leads to my next question is so seeing the step change in Opus 4.5, like, where in the world are we going to be in like 6 to 12 months?
Yeah.
I mean, what are we going to be doing? And I know we don't know, and I know it's impossible to know, but it'd be fun to kind of think about it. Mckay, what do you think this is going to look like in 6 months?
So one of the things that I'm very excited about is computer use, because I think that changes how you work quite a bit. So this is something for 2026. I'm like very keen to see what happens. It feels like we're kind of due for someone to drop something here. I don't know if either of you have seen this, but in Google's anti-gravity IDE that they just released, they have that feature where it can kind of go and navigate the browser. And a few people have kind of a version of this, but you start to wonder, take AMP, for example, say you have a tool, a computer use tool that it can invoke. It can go inspect the UI. I think one of the things that the models are going to get good at that's going to come sooner than people think is that type of work. And so suddenly when you can have, kind of a QA engineer on the spot, I think that changes things quite a bit. So that's one of the things kind of in the shorter term. Like there's obviously like the what happens in 5 years question. And I honestly tend to be of the opinion of just like, I have absolutely no idea how to answer that, which is like kind of a boring answer. But at the same time, it's like, how am I supposed to, 5 years ago, GPT-3 wasn't out. So it's like,
Yeah. I love that answer though, being more able to do front end kind of using a browser, using the computer actually reliably. We're getting some answers from the audience, and then I want to hear from you, Torsten. So Aries the Coder says Opus 4.5 for him, but begrudgingly. So that's kind of interesting. And then Brenton says Sonnet 4.5 has been great, especially as a work doer. I like that, work doer. Opus 4.5 has been fantastic as an orchestrator, like the one with the plan, firing off the sub agents. And 33 is using all the models apparently. So Torsten, what's going to be happening in 6 months? I know you can see the future and know it. So over to you.
I mean, I think, I don't know about the models. I think it's, if you look at Nano Banana on the other end of the spectrum, like as a more visual model, and then, when people, I think we've kind of crossed this thing where people are like, oh, it doesn't understand. It's just a statistical thing. It's a stochastic parrot and whatnot. Because you can give Nano Banana, I don't know if you guys noticed, you can give it a photo of a crossword puzzle and then say, fill out the crossword. And it does.
You can give it these like crazy logic puzzles in text and say, solve this in image. And you can be like, solve this like cryptographic problem, and then put like a red box under this chair based on the answer to this question. Like it has like some crazy reasoning model stuff going on. Like if people watching this have never played around with it, it's like very interesting to do.
You need to try. Like I think you need to read through like some stuff to figure out what to even try, because it's so bonkers. But for example, with Nano Banana, I took a photo of a hiking map, which is a really dense hiking map in the woods, like a lot of lines. And I was like, draw in the route from A, B, and it gave it like 3 points or 4, I think. And it sent me back the photo with like a red line drawn in of the correct hiking path, which is something.
I saw your post on that. That blew my mind. It was
and
crazy.
As a human, you're like, wait a second, and you have to work for this. So what I think is going to happen is that this capability and what we see with Opus, I don't know. I think that's going to melt in some way, and I think it's going to be crazy. There's no way we're going to be talking about are these models actually understanding stuff or
Right.
whatever. I think we're going to really be talking about feed this to an AI, and when we say AI, we don't mean a chatbot, but we mean then a thing that can whatever, for lack of a better word, like intellectually solve problems. And
Mhm.
I don't know.
And then we'll
I
go.
think it's crazy.
It's gonna
So
be wild.
also for the record, like Nano Banana and other stuff. So my daughter is 8 years old. She brings homework, obviously, and I often take like the photo of the homework and then send it to Nano Banana, like fill it out, and it always nails it. Like third grade math, boom, does it. Fills it out in the photo. It's crazy.
That's so cool. Yeah, it's gonna be wild. I think in 6 months, Mckay, I'm gonna double down what you said. I'm pretty sure we'll get reliable feedback loops for models visually, where
Yeah, and I think people are just gonna have more of the feeling that like software is solved, which it's not really, but like the feeling you get of just seeing it do, you're gonna get that feeling increasingly.
yeah,
And I think, sorry, I forgot to say, is like, I think it's gonna be apparent to more people that you need to adapt your code base to make use of this.
Hmm.
It's like
Yes.
saying, oh, there's a new breed of programmer, and they can only use the special keyboard, and but as a company, you would be insane to not fit out your workstations that plug into the special keyboard
For that.
because you want to use those new programmers.
Mhm.
And I still talk to sometimes people who say, like, recently somebody who works at NVIDIA of all places says, like, I barely use agentic programming. And I think the pool is going to be so big that a
Hmm.
lot of companies are going to adapt it and make their code base be usable by agents or writable.
So let's talk about that, because that was actually on my list of questions. How are we going to adapt our code bases specifically for the models? And everybody listening, what are some tips that we can give them now that help models perform better on code bases? Mckay, how are you adapting your code bases to help the models perform better at the moment?
So I have two takes on this. So the answer to get for performance now is I am very much a lot of people are probably familiar with agents.md and claude.md. If you're not taking advantage of that, not just at the root level, but kind of nesting
Hmm.
those files, you can really get a lot more performance. I pretty much in almost every directory in my code base, no matter how small it is, I almost just throw it in there.
Same.
And I do notice a difference, which is it's just it's low hanging fruit that works really well. And so you might as well take advantage of it. I'm a little bit of the maybe other opinion where I do actually think that as the models get better, that all that scaffolding is just not going to matter as much. I think they're just going to get so good at using whatever you have, and they're just going to be intelligent enough to figure it out that it wouldn't surprise me if in like a year nobody does that as much. I just think the amount of tricks you have to use goes down. Like I even noticed this going from Sonnet to Opus 4.5, like the amount of sub agents I use, for example, to try and use some of those tricks that you have available in various harnesses and things like that. I don't use them as much just because the kind of parent model just seems to not
We need
need
'em.
as many tricks.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of my feeling, is maybe that doesn't matter as much as we might think it will in a year.
Yeah, I think a lot of the techniques we use nowadays will look like workarounds looking back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
They're very hacky.
yeah, and for we've been saying this with Am from the start, that the agentic harness, it's a wooden scaffold and it should
Mhm.
fall away with the model getting smarter. And the one example is a year ago, the models would fail to edit files. So you would add in something like, oh, if it fails with this, we're going to try it with this other model and we're going to do this. Opus 4.5 doesn't fail in edit. Like
Right.
it doesn't have typos, it doesn't leak JSON or whatever. And so a lot of that stuff is just not necessary anymore. And I think a lot of that other stuff will change too.
Will fall away. But it surely there's optimization. Like if it's a model first repo, like
Yeah,
it's not
I
going to
agree.
be.
I think so.
It's not going to be human. But like we're just so used to like directories and includes and there's a way
I
that
mean-
we architect things because we can't do it, but surely
My dumb answer to this, honestly, is I think you're gonna say, "Hey, optimize this so that you can use it the best," and it will do that, and you just go with whatever that is.
Right,
That's
like,
honestly
okay.
kind of what I think it'll do.
Yeah, I think there's like it's like a time and effort thing where if you want to make the most use of these models today, right now, or
Mhm.
as soon as possible, you want to optimize your code base to make use of the model right now. And that means
Right.
simple tooling that can be put into a context window that's easy for them, doesn't waste tokens and that kind of stuff. You could also say, I'm not doing anything for the next year because then Opus 8.2 comes out or Gemini 12 and it'll just figure it out, And
Yeah.
that's also,
Yeah.
I think that sounds crazy, but I think that's a valid thing you could do if you're saying I have more important stuff to do right now. Like this is not a bottleneck that we as a company have. You can say I'll just wait for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think that's gonna work. It's like electricity just came out, right? And going, I'm just gonna wait to see like what people do with electricity. You're gonna miss all of it. Right. I think there's this like kind of like moment in time where we're gonna see everybody who is listening to the show, the type of people that care about this kind of thing are gonna end up building these juggernauts of things because we're
I mean,
using the models now. But
maybe, but Primogen was on the Lex Friedman, I don't know, podcast like half a year. I don't know when it was, like start of the year. I don't know. And he said something. Lex was saying, "Oh, he really enjoys working with models because he sees the compilation of context and what to write and how to prompt. It's like an art." And he's like, "I'm navigating latent space. I'm trying to put the best information in the best way possible for the model to understand it." And Prime was saying, well, won't this get obsolete with better models? Like, do I actually have to learn this stuff right now?
right, or just ignore it.
Or can I just ignore it? And then the model will figure it out. And to his point, if we look at a bunch of stuff, the order in the context, like that's not a thing anymore. It was maybe half a year ago. But now if you have agents and you say, I need you to fix this, and you mention a file or you don't mention a file,
most
of the time it can go and figure this stuff out,
Yep. It's crazy.
And
All right. So
let's
so last bit of Opus 4.5 news, and we're going to do a quick true false game. Mckay, if you could leave everybody with one kind of thing they can do or try with Opus 4.5, what would you say?
To hit something we haven't talked about, try screenshot to code. So one of the things that not a lot of people know is that Claude Opus 4 got a huge vision input upgrade. So it's much more crisp with vision based tasks. So if you give it a screenshot of UI and say like clone this, you're going to get much better performance than the old models. And that's just kind of a fun thing that people can try really quickly that I actually use quite often. I use Figma a lot. So I'll kind of try and screenshot, have it implement whatever I did. And it's kind of a fun workflow.
Screenshot to code. Love it. All right. So we're going to head over to our game time segment. Get ready. Get your fingers ready for typing. And,
Me too.
All right. So this is mainly a game between you two. So
do I have to type?
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I got two hands behind my back now.
Yeah. So
Oh.
you can type in the chat or on X or in the private chat. Tell us what your answer is going to be, or you could just say it out loud if you want. And everybody in the comments or watching, say in the comments, true or false. You guys ready?
Wait. What? Sorry, I'm not following. What do I do? Do I type something in a chat somewhere? I have 4 chats open. What do I do?
So how about this? So I'm going to say a statement, and then you have to decide if it's true or false. And then I would like you to say it out loud on the show. You don't have to type anything.
Okay.
But everyone that's listening or watching, type it in the comments. All right, here we go. All right, statement number 1. Google CEO Sundar Pichai recently confirmed that more than 25% of all new code at Google is now generated by AI. True or false?
Should I say it?
Say it out loud.
I put mine in private chat, so we.
Oh, I'll do it.
It's already out there.
There you go. There you go.
Okay, so our illustrious co-host and guest think this is true. The answer is true. So, and this was in 24. So imagine we're at 25. So it's
I
probably
want to say he
Like-
just did an update on this and was higher.
ooh. All right, if you can find it, let us know. All right, statement number 2. According to the 2024 Stack Overflow Dev Survey, which is a little out of date, fewer than 30% of professional developers are currently using AI coding tools. So fewer than 30% are using professional.
Oh wait, wait.
Wait, let
State
me.
what I state the. It got flipped a little.
Okay.
Say it so I get the.
Get this name right. According to the 2024 Stack Overflow Dev Survey, fewer than 30% of professional developers are currently using AI coding tools.
Yeah.
All right. So we've got our statements in from our friends who are both saying true, and Brenton in the comments is saying, "What's Stack Overflow?" That's kind of mean. Like, but truth.
It is funny because a lot of the people now really like genuinely don't know what Stack Overflow is.
It's just crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
Crazy.
Stack Overflow is the Bible.
It's crazy.
Facts.
Yeah.
But I think the 30%, I think that's also coming back to what we said earlier. I think that's going to change, but we're so early in the adoption of this.
Mhm.
There's people who just shrug, and they are professional software developers, and they haven't used any AI tool in the last 3 years. And I think that's going to change.
And the cost globally too can be tough. Like up until 2 or 3 days ago, Opus was only available for max plan if you were above 100, or if you're paying via an API, which almost, like nobody in the global south is doing that, and so they can't use it.
Yeah.
So it's like, there's things like that.
Yeah, it's cut off.
Data privacy, like
Data
the German
privacy.
companies who don't want to send data to the big.
Yeah.
That's a big thing.
Yeah, I've got a
it
bunch
is.
of friends that work in enterprise, and man, I mean, they're not even allowed. Like,
Yeah.
so
I have a friend that just the same way.
it's wild. All right, so statement 3. Amazon CEO Andy Jassy confirmed that their Amazon Q agent saved the company an estimated 4,500 developer years of work by automatically upgrading Java applications. True or false? That's a lot. All right, Mckay.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's so specific. I feel like it's just got to be what he said.
It's like the mythical man month, right?
I don't even know how to quantify that in my head. What are those developer like? What does that even?
Yeah,
mean?
I couldn't make up a number like this. Like obviously, like
producer Scott saying, are developer years the same as dog years?
Yeah,
I think so. So, Torsten, is your stake in the ground true or false on that?
whatever. Like I think this is, I don't know. Like it's this.
It doesn't matter.
How many developer years has AI
How
saved
do
you, Torsten?
Yeah, I don't know.
A million bazillion.
Thousands. Who knows?
2 quadrillion.
It is the measurement just doesn't make sense anymore. I mean, this is what we're finding. All right, last statement. A massive study of 150 million lines of code found that AI generated code results in 50% less code churn, which is deleted or rewritten code compared to human code. So, true or false? Okay, he's thinking hard. True. Torsten, true. Oh, the answer is false. The study found the exact opposite. And analytics firm GetClear discovered that code churn lines, which is lines of code that are deleted or rewritten within 2 weeks of being authored, is projected to double in the AI era, suggesting AI is creating more disposable or lower quality code, which is interesting. So
The projected word in there makes me.
Yeah. And there's a lot of stuff with this. The same with like the hour save. It's like saying, how many steps did the invention of the airplane save you? I wouldn't walk to London, and that's obviously like an exaggeration. But I think with a lot of this stuff,
yeah,
you're like, what does code churn even mean? Like, is code churn bad or good? If I can hit a button and get 500 lines of code and then I delete it, like, is that bad?
No.
Like, it's not like a junior engineer worked on this for 4 days and then I said, like, let's scrap it. It doesn't work. Like, failed project. No,
Yeah.
I just spent $5 and 5 minutes on it. It's not.
Yeah, it's disposable.
Yeah.
My temp folder is very full of scripts now that do all sorts of things.
Yeah. Scripts, throwaway stuff, little prototypes, and who cares?
I will say I see Opus 4.5 writing a lot of scripts in line on the command line now. It's wild.
Yeah.
which is just, I'm like, oh my God, you're so smart. It's great. Okay, folks, we have hit the top of the hour. We've covered all sorts of stuff, all the way from our tech buzz, did a little nerd alert, deep dive, went pretty hard on Opus 4.5, did some silly true false games, which were very important, and reveal a lot of interesting things. So Mckay, thank you so much for joining us. You're an absolute
so great to be here, guys. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Give people a quick shout out about where they can find you, what you're working on.
Yeah, you can check me out on X. That's primarily where I'm posting these days, at Mckay Wrigley. I have a YouTube video coming out on Friday about the Cloud Agent SDK. So if anyone's into trying to build agents with Opus, and you want to kind of build your own tools and things like that, that might be a fun thing to check out this week. So that's kind of what I got in the pipeline.
Love it. And you'll post about that on X, and then
that'll be on X too. It's a monster.
Awesome. Torsten, where can people find you on the internet?
On X, torstenball.com. I have a weekly newsletter that I write, where I collect stuff from the internet, and I also add my commentary. If you want to find out how I see the world right now, I think that's a good way to keep up with it. It's
a great newsletter, and Torsten loves to write and read. So he's one of the few people that does a lot of both. You'll find that. You can find us at AmpCode on X as well. You can find me as Ryan Carson. And thanks everybody for listening. Thanks for watching and chiming in, and we'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
See ya.